Hey, Talia here, and today on I Got Back Up, I'm joined by Beech. The creator of the BeechBand and someone living with young-onset Parkinson's, Carl went from losing his ability to speak, walk normally, and control his body, to calming his symptoms and getting his voice, his movement, and his smile back. From tapping on his arm one day, Carl had an epiphany, which became the device everyone in the Parkinson's community is talking about, the BeechBand. The day that Carl felt hope once again. So, Carl, when you hear the phrase "I got back up," what does it make you think and feel?
Gratitude, actually, I think. I think when you've gone through something like we have or others have,
Mhm.
um, every day becomes a little bit more precious. Even like walking in the rain.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I used to hate walking in the rain. Now I'm like, I can walk in the rain. That's really cool. Yeah, I think that's what I think of. Gratitude. I've learned gratitude much more, I think.
You find gratitude and love for the
Yeah.
smallest of things in the world.
Yeah, because like even like I've done some videos on this, but like even having a cup of tea without spilling it everywhere, or being able to tell someone you love them, or even speak, or make an order in a restaurant because I couldn't speak,
Mhm.
so yeah, things like that are amazing. I mean, I wet myself once at St Pancras Station. Like I didn't even realise I'd done it because I was getting bladder incontinence. Sorry to go straight in with that, but like even going to the toilet, that's cool.
Mm.
When you want to.
Mhm. Yeah.
So these like the simplest things become the best. Like they're beautiful again. Do you know what I mean? Like sitting in the shade on a hot day, just with a glass of water, like, oh, this is good. Because I think you lose all of that, when life's just marching on and everything's working, like the body's working, you just get consumed with work and life. You lose gratitude for the simplest things. I spent ages. I don't live there now, but I had a little flat just outside London when I was recovering, and I trained this robin to feed from my hand, and I just used to look at him every day. I called him Keith. I've got some got some videos of Keith. He used to come and sit on my hand like, every morning
Mm.
and feed. I think I never used to notice the littlest things. I just look at his little face. I just never saw that before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
simple stuff is beautiful again. That's
Yeah.
that's how I describe it.
Yeah, I love that. Simple stuff is beautiful again. And you find it in your own little ways as well. Like I relearned how to walk, and sometimes even like
Yeah.
now, and I hope this stays with me forever, but sometimes I catch myself off guard and I look down when I'm walking and I'm like, wow, like,
My legs work.
yeah, I can walk because I couldn't at one point. And even that,
Yeah.
like, I'll look down and like it's one foot in front of literally one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, yeah. I had a similar thing. To my gait, severely struggled. I was dragging my leg, had some foot drop, and not using my hands properly. So yeah, they even eating a meal with a knife and fork in your hands on aching, and I could swallow again. So I was losing my swallowing with what I had, and every mouthful of food I was swishing it around with like orange squash, to try and get it. That's not good when you're eating like a curry. You can't. Just you didn't want to eat anymore. So yeah, the simplest stuff that we normally take for granted just becomes, magical, really, I think.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, it's
No,
good
that
to be reminded of that, actually. Thank you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's absolutely beautiful. Thank you. It's a really nice way of putting it all.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's been a struggle, and I don't want to forget the brutal days.
Mm,
Actually, I don't want to forget them. So I think they make you a better person. I
mhm,
think if you use it, like you either crawl under a rock or you come out fighting it, and then you let it shape you. I think those experiences. Um, but yeah, yeah. I think that's where I'm at most days. I think I'm
mm,
a better person for the experience and
mm.
the ongoing experience with what I'm dealing with. So yeah,
But that's what it is, isn't it? You have gratitude when you've been through the darker times, when you have a good day or a lighter moment, you have even more gratitude because you know
yeah.
how yesterday might have been, or even a few hours ago might have been.
I think you can be bitter if you let it.
Yeah.
Like you could be bitter for what the years you lost or the time you lost, but that's I guess my feeling is I wanted to squeeze as much positive juice out of the experience as possible.
Mm.
rather than get bitter. I never wanted to be a bitter person. I could feel it creeping over me, some days. But I made a decision early on that I'd never complain or moan and just get on with it. And I do think that helped me in my kind of my getting up again journey
Mhm.
so far. If things crash down upon me again, I've just got to remember that. That's why this is a great opening to the conversation. That's a good reminder. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Sometimes we have to even remind ourselves.
yeah, you do. Yeah, because life still goes on, right? And stuff still happens. You still get speeding tickets, parking fines, income tax bills. You know, yeah, angry people in queues, road rage. It's all there. It's all trying to knock you down all the time, isn't it? I just want
Yeah.
to smile at people. Thanks for the speeding ticket. That's great.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, sometimes when people get angry in the car, I just smile and wave.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I actually gently knocked into the back of someone about a year ago in the middle of London, and they came screaming out at me. I mean, it's the tiniest knock, no damage. I just went, "It's London, mate," and look, it happens. What a great, beautiful day this is. And it's like, what? I mean, hey, look, whatever the damage is, I'll sort it. But look, it's a beautiful day, isn't
Mm. Mhm.
it?
Because so many people are used to then you biting or fighting back, because that's what for some reason
Yeah,
humans have become. We are so used to people biting back that actually
yeah.
if you flip it, you catch people off guard.
Have you noticed people are getting angrier? I,
Yeah, I
I
have.
Yeah, I think it stands out to me, or maybe people like us who have sort of gone through a valley because you're sort of more attuned to it. But I'm like, wow, people just seem much more tense and hostile,
Yeah.
which makes me even more determined to have a smile. Because hey, one of the things I had with young onset Parkinson's was face masking.
Mm.
So my face was like this. Like I was constantly just look angry and miserable because I couldn't move my face muscles,
Mhm.
and I thought I was smiling at people, and I just looked hostile. And people would say, "Why you look so miserable?" And I go, "Because I was born in Dagenham. I think that's the way we all look. That's the way it is." But I didn't realise so much later. So when I got my smile back and my face started looking kinder, which I hope it does, though I can have a resting moan face, whatever you call it. But yeah, I am determined to smile more.
No, that's really nice. Look, we've all got one of those. It's resting bitch faces.
Yeah, that's the expression, a resting bitch face. I mean, I've definitely got a crack in one of those, but I do try to keep smiley eyes. I
I've
try
def
to.
I've definitely got one of those as well. When it's there, believe me, it's there.
But I'll try not to like provoke it over the next bit of the time.
Yeah, it's one of those. If you provoke it, you've got it. It's your fault. If it's there, it's
Yeah.
your
Yeah, I can go full on East End boy when I need to.
Believe me, I get that in my own ways, don't worry. So then let's move on then to your journey and your story. And I want you
Yeah.
to take us to where you believe most resonates with everything that's happened.
Well, so I'm 54,
Mhm.
first to say, and I was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's 4 years ago. Um, Young onset is rare in the UK, so it's about 18,000 people, and it's young if you're diagnosed kind of around 50 or younger. Now, some people be diagnosed in their 30s. Like my partner was diagnosed, when she was in her 30s, had juvenile onset actually. So, but it's the labour you get once you got it. So I'll be forever young onset, and that's currently currently incurable, progressive degenerative neurological condition. And they reckon that my journey goes back 15 years, which is probably about right. I used to walk into a room and people would say, "Have you hurt your leg?" I don't think I have. They'll be looking at my leg thinking, I don't think it's working quite well. And the other thing that was happening was my voice, which I'm still working on a little bit. For anyone listening to me and think he sounds a bit slurry or my diction's not quite spot on, that's because I'm still retraining myself to speak properly because my voice started to slur about
Mhm.
15 years ago, and that really progressed. Um, so Parkinson's, for those who don't know, is the ongoing either death of dopamine neurons in your brain or non-use of. They're not quite sure. And dopamine isn't just like the feel-good hit. When you find a parking space in Tesco's and you're like, get in, that's a dopamine hit. But I wasn't getting those, and so I was flatlining. But it also controls your movement, so it's a transmitter for your nervous system. It stops the motor neurons working properly. Um, So fast forward to 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with what they call a DAT scan because I was young. They couldn't really work out what was going on. So they gave me a DAT scan, which is the only brain scan that can detect it. So they put radioactive material in you. And they say, don't go near people, don't use public urinals, and don't go near pregnant women. So I went out for Chinese, had a wee in the bathroom. And 3 hours later, you go and lay under these big plates for 45 minutes and it measures how much dopamine's in your brain. And that showed what they call bilateral progression because Parkinson starts from one side, but by this time it affected both sides of my brain. So that and a clinical exam. And you just hear those words progressive, degenerative, currently incurable. They give you the snake oil, the pills to help you and then they send you on your way, and that's pretty much it. Um, and the progressive nature it means they don't know how it's going to affect you, but it affects your mobility, use of your hands, speech, communication to handwriting goes. Speech is very rare. A lot of people get soft voice, but my mum is what they call vocal freeze, so I knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't get my words out.
Hmm.
So by up to 2 years ago, I was in a real bad way. I had something called cervical and truncal dystonia. So my neck would fit to one side and do this. And I couldn't speak or move when that happened. It was to paralyze me. And I had bilateral tremors, both hands. My hand fingers were very slow. Um, and my speech was appalling. I could send a video to it if you wanted to cut it in, but it was really bad. Um, Sometimes I just couldn't speak at all. Um, and I had a bit of bladder and bowel incontinence or constipation issues, a lot of night terrors, which are really weird. Before I fell asleep, with this like banging noise in my head, and then I just get utter terror. And I guess um, neurological anxiety too. Like I was pretty fearless. I've never, it's greatest strength, greatest weakness. I didn't really have fear in my life, but suddenly I couldn't walk into a coffee shop without having a panic attack.
Mm.
So that was where it got to. And then I guess you kind of think, I was 52, thinking, I can't speak, I can't walk very well, I can't use my hands. I was in a lot of pain. I had this, I'd sneeze and all my body would rip, all the muscles would go. There's a lot of fatigue. You know, I went from doing marathons and alpine cycling, like long 1,000-mile cycle rides and all that stuff, to lifting a plant pot across the garden. I'd have to sit down for 20 minutes.
Mm.
Um, so I really thought this thing's doing me in. So that's where it was 2 years ago. I was not like this, um, and that was the start of my journey. There was a couple of very profound moments, things that happened to me, and then I sort of stumbled across these series of disconnected thoughts. So I'm a bit of a left field thinker, and stitched some ideas together and came out with what seemed to be a ridiculous idea, which actually changed my life and seems to be changing the life of tens of thousands of others now, um, which is incredible. So yeah,
So
yeah.
then, what is it, the thing that changed?
Well, I guess I should talk about how I came up with it. Have we
Yeah,
got time for that? Yeah.
yeah.
So I was working. My background was sort of human rights, international development, poverty alleviation work. I was running and founding charities, and I'd just gone out with a friend to Democratic Republic of Congo because we found like 40,000 children were mining cobalt out there. And that was the cobalt mines are extremely dangerous. I think one of the last Westerners to go there got shot dead on the spot. But we managed to covertly infiltrate under the guise of being illegal investors in cobalt, and got into this mine and witnessed a horror. Really, and it was very dangerous, pretty horrific. Young kids out there, age 5, mining with their bare hands, supplying 70% of the world's cobalt for lithium batteries in cars and phones and stuff. And we came back. I managed to covertly take over 360 videos and photos. It was very perilous, but the trauma of it got to me. I've seen the kids, not the danger. I mean, that was like a nervous system. Like I loved it. Like I like adventure, so that was fine. But the trauma of it's like a nervous system regulator for me. Risk, but the seeing the kids deeply hit me. And I went straight on a speaking tour to Australia, bearing in mind I've got this cervical dystonia developing, my speech is going, but managed to do this trip. Then did a speaking tour in Australia, which is ridiculous, really. Um, and came back exhausted and deeply, troubled by what I'd witnessed. And I lost my ability to speak completely, really. My symptoms just went through the roof because stress can really amplify symptoms in a condition, syndrome like Parkinson's, where it's dopamine based. So although outwardly I didn't show the stress, inwardly it was hitting me, and yeah, I was just in a really bad way. So I was trying to figure out how to get my life back, and I had three things that were really bothering me. One was my speech. When I was diagnosed, I'd actually prayed. I prayed in a taxi that my speech would be preserved, so I could tell my kids I love them, two adult kids,
Mm.
and talk to my family. And I'd prayed that I wouldn't lose my mind, because although dementia doesn't always come with young onset, there is a risk. So when my speech was going, I was so distressed, particularly as I made a living as a communicator. But it wasn't that; it was more like I couldn't tell my loved ones I love them. I mean, it's
Mm.
just a terrible thing. Um, So I thought I need to solve that. I need to solve my walking. So I've gone from being sort of athletic to um, like a like a man on his last legs, really.
Mhm.
And yeah, I wanted to resolve anxiety. Now I had a meltdown outside Cafe Nero, I think it was in Strand, on Embankment in London, and this really sweet elderly lady walked past. And yeah, I never really knew my grandparents, so I've always been terrified of old people. But just because they can read my mind or tell me things about myself, what do they know? But this kindly elderly lady walked past, and I was having a panic attack. Like I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
Mhm.
I'd have thought of walking to meet someone, and I just said, I was like, "Parkinson's help," because that's how I spoke. Parkinson's help. And she came and squeezed my hands and gave me a hug and said something really nice to me, and I felt the anxiety lift. And I thought, what just happened? And I went in and had my coffee, had a good sort of chat,
Mm.
not brilliant chats, couldn't speak. Next time it happened, I picked up my wild attack dog, Douglas the Cavapoo, and I picked him up, gave him a squeeze, and he licked my neck, and I felt the anxiety go. The next time it happened, I went to my mate Nathan, who's an Essex boy like me, and I went, Nathan, hug me. And he was
Mm.
like, what? I went, hug me. And he gave me a squeeze, and he said something like, we got you, mate. We've all got you. You're going to be all right, which was a very emotional moment for me. And I just felt this anxiety feeling leave. So I got obsessed about the power of human contact. That was the
Mhm.
first thing. I thought there's something about physical contact and the human heart. That was the first thing. The second thing was I was experimenting with what they call cueing in Parkinson's. Because we lose our autopilot or our autonomic system, we can walk backwards like Michael Jackson, but can't walk forwards because walking backwards isn't automatic. You have to use a different part of your brain.
Mhm.
So things like breathing, blinking, walking, arm swing, all automatic functions start to go. Swallowing. And so my walking was such a problem. I had bought a stick. And what you do with cueing is you throw the stick out and you aim your leg at where the stick goes. Or you could look at ceiling tiles, the lines, or lines on the pavement, paving slabs. You aim your leg at it and it helps you. But I was suspicious of it because it made me look like a robot. And for speech, they'd said draw a grid on a bit of paper and point to the squares to speak. So I looked and sounded like a robot of Star Wars. That was just not good. But I had this stick, and I noticed that when the stick hit the ground, it wasn't where I put it. It's when it hit the ground, the vibration through my hand made me feel different.
Mm.
I couldn't explain it, but it just did. Then I noticed if I tapped it slowly, nothing much happened. If I tapped it fast, nothing much happened. But if I tapped it at this regular rhythm, then I seem to be able to walk without following the beat. So I've now got human contact, the heart, something like that, and I've got a vibration. It's making my brain think. I'd just come out of Congo. My symptoms are terrible. I've been in, arguably at the time, one of the most dangerous places on earth, certainly to our lives. So I'm sitting in an armchair one night, watching Apocalypse Now and eating a double decker. No joke. I've since eaten 1,000 double deckers in the pursuit of inspiration. Nothing's happened but put on weight. I uh, I had this double decker, watching this film, and this thought came to me because I've just been in a dangerous place, and the thought was, okay, Carl, where's the safest place you've ever been? And immediately it was like you dropped out from heaven or something. It's some weird moment where immediately this inner voice said, "Your mother's womb." So I thought, that's what?
Mm.
Then I thought about it and thought, well, I didn't have to pay tax. I didn't have to feed myself. Then I thought, why didn't I claw my way out of the womb? I know there's a time to be born, but why in those last months was I not clawing my way out in panic as my cognition grew in the womb? So I looked up, what does the baby feel in the third trimester? Of course, it's the mother's heartbeat. And the mother's heartbeat's between like 84 to 100 beats a minute. It's fast because the woman's body's under strain. So I thought, well, that's interesting because calming devices, when you're trying to soothe someone, they're all like you buy a teddy bear with a heartbeat and it's 50, ba-dum, ba-dum,
Mm.
ba-dum. But this was, so I had this thought that night. I wonder if my brain stores a memory of safety. Even though I can't remember it, I wonder if it's there. And I've been doing a lot of reading around the parasympathetic nervous system and calming the nervous system. Like most of us are in sympathetic mode, which is fight or flight,
Mhm.
like most humans at some point during the day. But we've still been parasympathetic, which is like this calm, comfort, peace mode. So I thought, I wonder if the baby is kept calm through the parasympathetic, and I wonder if that signal, that mother's heartbeat, will remind my brain. Then I thought, these cueing things are all for me. I've got to get this to my subconscious. This is all that night whilst eating a bar of chocolate. It's weird. So I sat in a chair and I started doing this on my chest, which is hard because I had Parkinson's. I was stiff on this side. So I'm doing this, trying to just beat myself for like an hour, about 90 beats a minute. And then I opened my mouth to speak after an hour and I spoke the first fluent sentence I've spoken in months. I
Mm.
just said, when I tap, I can speak. And honestly, I burst into tears. Um, and then I sort of gathered myself, started doing it again and spelled Czechoslovakia as a test, but not to the beat. So it's Caesar D said Czechoslovakia. KA. I thought, I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. I was like, I couldn't speak. So I then got out of the chair and I started to tap my thigh and I walked around my living room without any foot drop or leg drag. And I looked in the mirror and my face was more animated. I I I I thought, am I making this up? Is this placebo? Like what's this? So anyway, I phoned my mate Nick, who's now Chief Technology Officer at BeechBand, a company that manufactures a device I came up with. And I was speaking to him down the phone, and he's like, "How are you speaking?" I went, "I'm tapping. I need you to build something." And I described to him a device, which I've got downstairs actually. I should have got it the first ever one, which is a Bannatyne's gym band with a
Mm.
magnet in it. And he took the magnet out, put a haptic into a mobile phone, set it to the frequency I said to a battery pack, sent it through the post. 4 days later, I put it on my wrist, got him on a video call, and I had alleviation for about 3 symptoms. So we then built 31 prototypes and tried them on people with Tourette's, um, MS, stroke, brain bleed, Parkinson's, migraine, motion sickness, anything to do with the autonomic system, anything to do with the basal ganglia region of the brain or the substantia nigra. And we just saw these incredible results. Like we couldn't believe it. And so we decided to set up a business which was values driven, patient led, super low costs, 25% profits from me making them back to charity for cure research, all of that stuff. And 60,000 plus devices later, and tens of thousands of user reports, we're seeing lives change. So for me personally, I went from after 13 months use. So it was an up and down journey of use,
Mhm.
I should add. Like it wasn't a straight line getting better. But after 13 months, I was been signed off all meds now for the last 10 months. And I'm 99.9% symptom free from Parkinson's. It's all gone. Like I coughed this morning and I got a bit of truncal dystonia because it was a shock to the nervous system, but my baseline is effectively like I'm really well. Like, you would not know I've got Parkinson's at all. At first people thought I was an actor until I had a second DAT scan, um, because I couldn't understand what was going on. That has he been wrongly diagnosed?
Mhm.
I had a second scan and it showed that the disease had progressed, but I'm actually doing really well. So like, oh, they said, well, maybe you've just had like a really good year, and maybe you just feeling great, and that's helping. I went, well, my marriage of 30 years came to an end. I was homeless for 2 weeks. Now I lost my life's work and I got better. They're like, oh, might be the device then. So, so that I mean that's in a nutshell what happened, and we're just blown away every day by what we're hearing. It's helping about 75% of people who try it get a benefit.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, remarkable. What a
Yeah,
journey.
yeah, what a journey indeed. And I mean, what an amazing story to get there. And it's one of those aha moments in life when all of a sudden it just something lands in your brain and you
I
follow it.
know. Yeah, I think so. It was just I don't know how that all came together. I mean, I say to people, look, I have a faith. I'm smart. I don't think I'm that smart, but that keeps me humble. I don't want to attribute all to my weird brain. But definitely a eureka moment. But
Mm,
then the issue is like, what do you do with that? Because standing up in front of the world of neurology and autonomic medicine and saying, hey, I've got this buzzy thing, and the buzzy thing actually works. They're like, okay, good, good boy. They go, no, then they're like, oh, it's probably placebo. And then they go, oh no, but placebo effect doesn't grow. So, and then thousands of people reporting the same. But yeah, and then it's like, well, what do you do with that once you've got that? Well, do you keep it for yourself or do you give it away?
mhm,
And so then the thing was, if you find yourself in a hole and you got back up again, you got out of the hole, or for your podcast, and you get up off the floor, well, then you want to help as many people off the floor as possible. So, and I could dedicated my life to this now. Interestingly, I found out along the way that 200 years ago, there's a guy called Charcot
mm,
who is a physician, and he noticed that when people came to his consults who had the shaking palsy, which is what they called it for James Parkinson's, codified it and called it Parkinson's. If they came to his consults over the cobbles and on a horse and carriage, they tremored less.
mm,
So he built a shaking box,
mhm,
and he used to shake his patients, and then they would tremor less. And he just didn't have printed circuit boards, moldable plastics,
mhm.
batteries, motors. So this technology, which is sophisticated but simple, existed 200 years ago. They had the idea, so I've just ripped him off. Really, I mean, I just like, but everyone went towards pharmaceuticals and surgical intervention.
Mm,
So this is a discipline that is not new. We just brought it back with modern technology, but um, yeah, amazing. So I've not worn a beach band now for 10 months. Like it's completely reset my nervous system. So if I ever feel a wobble, I just pop it back on for a week or two, and then my baseline gets back to normal. And the only symptoms I ever get are the first symptoms I ever got, like 15 years ago. I don't get my advanced symptoms back ever. I sleep like a log. I'm super fit. I could, easily run 5K without a problem. Super fit and well. Um, I actually don't need this anymore,
mm,
really. I mean, every 5 months I kind of get this like wobble. So it really is, and I just put it on and I'm good to go. So it really is, it's completely changed my life. But and not just getting my health back, but then my whole perspective on life changed. Because along the way, two of my best mates died, one from MND, the other one from cancer. In the same time period that my life was falling apart, we got diagnosed around the same time as me. And I think those two things as well. I mean, like when I say close mates, I mean like super tight, like talk every day. Unusual for blokes, but we would text all the time. And so losing them and then losing my health and regaining it, I think what I know is totally changed my personality.
mm,
Really,
mm.
yeah, back to gratitude.
Yeah.
I remember my mate who died of cancer. He was when he was in sort of his last months. Really, he was feeling so miserable. And he said, I was sitting on the toilet. And he said, I looked down at my knees and thought, I've got really nice knees. I could be grateful for my knees.
Mm.
They say he just reset his day, and I'll never forget that. You know. So yeah, Yeah, it's been a weird one, to be honest, Talia. But feels like I'm in a dream, really.
Why do you say that? How so?
Well, I think life was so extremely poor,
Mm,
and I really thought I was done for. You know, and I lost my marriage, my home, my life's work. I lost everything, and you know, I was losing, you know, my health. It's all part of why it all fell apart. To be honest.
mhm,
And then one of the meds I was on gave me psychosis. You know, it's acutely suicidal as a result of one of the meds I was on. It's a dopamine agonist called Rapinol, which nearly wrecked my life. While I was kind of effectively, you know, on my own, homeless really. Um, to where I am now,
mm,
I can't, you know, I can't believe it.
mhm,
It is just feels like I woke up from a nightmare, but actually it's a continuum of life.
mhm,
Um, and there will be nightmares to come. You know, there'll be bereavements and loss and hardships and that, but I feel like this is could life really be so good? And the reason I think it's so good is because it was so bad. And so
mm,
it's probably not an exceptional life. I'm just so grateful.
mm,
You know what I mean? So
mhm,
good things are amplified. You must know. I mean,
mhm,
you probably talk about that all the time. But
mhm,
yeah. So I think one of the things I like to do in the mornings, I go and sit down with a cup of tea and I just think about the things I'm grateful for most mornings. I like that ritual. I just sort of sit there quietly, pray a bit, think a bit, look out the window, just think, yeah, no matter how bad this day's going to be, it's a good one.
mm, mhm. No, I really do get that, and it's interesting because as much as we wish we didn't have to go through some of the things we've been through, having been through the darkness and what we've been through, like we've said it night time and time again on here, it gives us gratitude. And when we're in this light, no matter how small the light is, we really feel it. And that's why I think when, as human beings, I don't want to say this, but going through bad and good really makes you see the world in a very different place. If it was all just happy go lucky every single day, I don't think you'd ever truly appreciate the
You
smallest of things.
would be spoiled brats, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I think suffering produces character, and
Mhm.
good can come out of suffering. I guess not all, you know, but definitely for me. I mean, one of the interesting just side things I was just thinking about there in the back of my mind. The womb. I need to say this really. The womb is not safe for everyone.
Mm,
And I was coming up with this womb safety theory and tricking my brain, but we found in 2% of people they'd have this nausea reaction as soon as they put this on, because it does simulate heartbeat and that the baby feels. They'd have this nausea or panic reaction or fear reaction, like sane, rational, you know, intelligent people just put this buzzy thing on. They're like, take it off.
mhm,
And in nearly every single person I asked who was able to access information, they had a traumatic birth or pregnancy.
mm,
Um, and so the trauma that we went through in adult life, they went through a trauma in the womb.
mm,
And yet they put this device on then and it triggers it. And so what we started to do is say, well, look, just hold this for a second and then drop it on a cushion on day one. And then like day two, hold it for 10 seconds and drop it. And build up to 20 minutes over 2 weeks. And the people who did that, they re-educated their brain that the heartbeat was safe.
wow.
And they started to get healing
Mhm,
from autonomic conditions that were untreatable. And I spoke to a psychologist who's very senior and headed up part of the NHS's work in the region, who'd done a PhD on it. And they said there's a massive correlation between birth trauma and autonomic syndromes. And so this thing that seems so simple, this buzzy thing that at first people kind of were like, what the heck,
mhm,
was actually resetting or regulating people's nervous systems. I mean, anecdotally, until medical device certification, you know, that's an anecdote, but we're pretty convinced after 60,000 users. But you know, this whole thing about life and safety and wholeness and healing and gratitude, you know, it's been an incredibly powerful learning exercise.
mm,
Um, yeah, I just need to say that because there will be some listeners who go,
Mhm.
"Well, I don't think the room was great for me, thanks, pal."
Mhm.
And actually, and I'd say just wanted to bring that additional fact, but we actually had a lady who works with us who struggled to wear the device, and I asked her, and she was born with both her hips dislocated. And I said, "Well, your brain associates birth with trauma and
Mm,
pain."
mm,
And so she's now working through that process, of
mhm.
telling her brain that she's safe again.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing, and I think a really important point that is the underlying message of this entire episode, talking to you and about the beach band, and is the nervous system. And we don't even realize sometimes that, yes, we get anxious thoughts or whatever sort of thoughts we get, and triggers and traumas, and believe me, I understand that entirely.
Mm,
But we also need to somehow learn to regulate our nervous systems.
100%. And
And
I
sometimes just that can be the biggest key to then unlock the rest of your life.
yeah, I am so with that. I've come to believe. I mean, I think I'm living proof. But I've come to believe that if we can, if we can initiate the parasympathetic nervous system,
Mhm,
the vagal nerve, then anything is actually possible.
mhm,
I honestly believe at that point anything's possible. I mean, I think I must be proof of that. And I mean, there's probably neuroplasticity happening, but I know I haven't regrown dopamine. I know I haven't stopped the disease progressing, but how?
yeah.
It makes no sense. I shouldn't be able to speak. I shouldn't be mobile. Um, I shouldn't be able to balance. I shouldn't be able to move my fingers this fast. But my nervous system is in parasympathetic most of the time,
Mhm,
and that I do think that means we can achieve anything in our bodies once you've regulated the nervous
mhm,
system, and it's
mhm,
clear that's what this is doing
mhm,
to me.
mhm.
So yeah, amazing for 49 quid. Not discreet. I mean, like this was a value because people sell these devices when they're not patient. They're for like £1,000,
Mm,
and monthly subscription. I'm like, no, 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 no. This has to be accessible to everyone. Everyone. Like it's got to be a price that anyone can pretty much like afford. It's 49 quid, and they give you 100-day money back if you don't work, which is like insane for a new business.
mhm,
But very few return it doesn't work. But that's not an advert, by the way. It's just this is ethics and values. People before profits, healing and recovery first, accessible to everyone. It's a disruptive mission because this whole industry needs disrupting. I just think it's so unethical that you can help a human being, but let's make a couple of grand out of it.
mm.
It don't feel
Yeah.
right. It doesn't feel right to me, even as a businessman. Like that. I'd rather give them away than do
Mm.
that.
Well, you are living proof of it, and we just spoke about reprogramming your nervous system, and there's so many different ways that you can, obviously, but if I'm
Totally.
being honest, I've never heard of it with the beach band, but obviously until I learned about the beach band, and it genuinely makes so much sense. But you're right, because even sometimes when you are in such a bad way and you're crying or however you're feeling, you do just want to hug someone. You want to feel,
Yeah.
you wanna, and you wanna hold someone, hug someone, even feeling
Yeah.
someone else's heartbeat. I mean, of course you're right. And that's the smallest of things. And if you don't have a person there at the time,
Yeah.
there is a different way.
Yeah. Well, what we found to get into if you don't mind me doing this, just get into what we've learned about it.
Mm,
That we, at first, neurologists told me my brain would get used to it. They were kind of saying it's placebo, but then nodding that it might not be. So then they were
mm,
saying if you use it, for more than 10 minutes at a time, your brain's going to habituate it or stop working. Just like blue light glasses, just stop working so the brain gets used to it. And I was going, no, that's not true because this is a subconscious signal. And what I mean by that is you wear it for so long, you're like Dave who lives by the train tracks, and he can now ignore the trains thundering past because his brain's tuned out. So you wear this for so long, you forget it's on. And that's when the magic happens. It goes straight to the brain and initiates that memory, I believe, and then starts to cause the neuroplasticity. But at first, I was only using it for short periods of time, like when I wanted to speak to my kids or go to a cafe or walk the dog. And then I'd turn it off because I was waiting my brain to get used to it. But when I started to go downhill with some other symptoms, I wore it for 9, 10 hours a day, and I was better in 2 weeks.
Mm,
2 weeks. And so we found now that if people wear it 7+ hours a day, 7 days a week, that constant into the brain gradually develops that parasympathetic mode, regulates the nervous system, and people start to get better. I watch people get out of wheelchairs.
mm,
I've seen, we've been in NHS rehabs where people can't balance. They put it on their balancing again, swallowing again, speaking again. Footage after footage. I mean, it's just astonishing, really. 25% of people, it's immediate, 50% after 24 hours, and then rest within 70 days.
mm,
So it's like long-term use. So it's not like I need a hug now. This brain retraining seems to be a constant, like daily input of that signal.
mm,
And slowly the brain, which is a stubborn mule and unpredictable, sort
mm,
of goes, this person can breathe, I can breathe again. And it's
mhm,
constant. And then what happened for me was the weird one. When I first used to put it on, it was like someone was giving me a hug. And then I take it off and I felt like I was being dropped from a height because it was a shock being on my own again. So symptoms would hit me like a ton of bricks. And then after about 3 months, just my normal symptoms would return without being amplified for a minute or two. Then the weirdest thing happened, Talia, which is you'd run out of battery. And because I didn't remember it was on, it'd be like an hour later, I think, how come I'm still speaking?
yeah,
It was like a residual impact, residual benefit, I call it. And
mm,
then that grew from hours to days to weeks to months to the point where I don't need it anymore. But it was the nervous system
yeah,
stayed settled.
yeah,
But it took 10 months.
yeah, yeah. And look, it's all a journey for everyone, and it's all going to take whatever people are going through in their healing journeys will all be very different. But I'm going to say it again, reprogramming your nervous system is huge.
Yeah, I didn't understand fully what I'd come up with at first. I just like, "Oh, it's working, so I'm going with it." I mean, I intended to do several things. I was trying to stitch thoughts together, but I did not realize how powerful that nervous system regulation was.
Mm,
I had no idea, and its impact on autonomic syndromes. And it's so grossly unoverlooked, overlooked.
mm,
That we just go straight to meds, fine. But actually that's putting a plaster over it. Like
yeah.
Parkinson's medication doesn't cure you, it just moderates symptoms.
Mm,
But this it doesn't at all. They just they gave me side effects.
mhm,
Now I've got something called dyskinesia still, and there's something called biphasic dyskinesia, which makes my right leg wobble like I'm shaking Stevens back in the day. Like I'm some like weird dancer.
mhm,
So and it's not got rid of that because that's damage to my nervous system. It seems to be fairly permanent, but that was medication. But this got rid of the rest of my dyskinesia, but not that particular thing. But it feels to me like we overlook simple solutions because we just look the other way to surgery and
mhm,
chemicals. But amazing to me that nature's rhythm of the mother's heartbeat has such a profound effect on the brain.
mm. Yeah, it doesn't shock me because of, I guess, like I said, I know how it feels to get that hug. I know how I feel when I get that hug that I want. Like, I know exactly how that feels. I don't want to leave the person's arms.
Yeah, yeah,
So
right.
it doesn't shock me how much it works.
No, when someone holds you who really loves you, like when my partner gives me a hug or a cuddle, and I know she really means it.
Mm,
I mean, I can feel myself because
mm,
I've a stressful life, right? No
mm,
mistake. Like, running a business is, it's not easy. But when I get that, I feel like I'm breathing.
mm,
Like when I cuddled my dog, or the old lady held me, or my mate, held my hands and gave me a squeeze. Like,
mhm.
I'm not afraid to admit that. Like that, you feel safe.
Yeah, that's the word, safe.
Yeah, it's safe. It's like when you've been listened to and understood, you feel safe. But being held. There's that lady, isn't there, Temple Grandin, who has autism. Have you come across her?
No.
well, Temple Grandin she was like very severely autistic, and she designed like a a contraption that she could wrap herself up in tight, so she just felt tightly squeezed,
Mm.
and it did all her stimming and fear. And so it's a really fascinating person to look up, Temple Grandin. So she needed that, like autistic kids can stim really badly
Mhm.
or panic. So she developed this like harness system. It just holds her in all tight like this. Like she has that hug. And I think in one way this is what this is doing. It's just reminding the brain. But when I get a hug from my girlfriend, I'm like, yeah, I'm totally safe here. It
Yeah.
just feels like the safest place I can be, and I can feel my body just relax. Or even like being acknowledged.
Yeah.
Like, you're standing in the kitchen or something and your partner walks past, just puts a hand on your shoulder. You're like,
Yeah.
I've been seen.
Yeah.
That's like it's so powerful for us. And actually some research has shown a lack of physical contact and skin contact. And I'm not in any way being sexual here. I'm just talking about
Mhm.
skin contact, like a hug from someone. Is so powerful that if you are deprived of it, people will develop really serious health and mental health issues.
Yeah.
Really serious. So I think, one neurologist said to me, this should be worn or something like this on the wrist of every living human.
Mm.
But which is a flattering thing to say. But I can see now, I can believe it. I mean, I think I probably got Parkinson's partly out of trauma and stress. Um, so yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah,
Really.
it is, and that was actually a fascinating sentence you just said as well, because a few people, well, not a few, it's a I wouldn't say it's a thing, but a lot of people say that the things that have unfortunately, let's say, or has happened to them or they've been diagnosed with, they believe have happened because of traumas or a stressful life.
Yeah,
Because I know the body will store trauma. It will store trauma inside of you. You have no idea it's being stored, and it has to go somewhere, and it will manifest into physical or health conditions.
yeah. I mean, they know, in my particular case of Parkinson's, that stress can cause progression,
Mm.
but they don't. There is I think it's not been deeply researched, but
Mhm.
there is thought that stress can trigger it. Like the brain floods with cortisol constantly, and if you've got the mechanics of Parkinson's, it just starts that domino effect of brain cell death in the dopamine area.
Mhm.
Um, I could certainly see how that's me because there's a really interesting fact that in young onset they call it the Parkinsonian brain, and a lot of them are like high achievers, highly stressful jobs, morally quite rigid, ethical types. They just like go, 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 and then the brain goes, oof, constant unrelenting stress. And I had years of working on frontline deprivation projects and actually living in and amongst it and building community, which is like deeply, deeply stressful. And maybe I blew my brain up with the constant stress. I think very likely, plus some other stuff, going on around me at the time. Um, neglect, um, hyper stress, abuse, um, all of those things I think can trigger autonomic syndromes. And I think that's why when we put this on the wrist of some people, they react.
Yeah.
Like they remember the stress in the room, but others, they breathe again. I mean, I watched people cry when I put that on
Yeah.
because they get relief.
Yeah.
They literally breathe. They can't understand why. They go, I don't know why I feel emotional. I just feel amazing.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they'll just stand there. They'll stand there, put it on, and go, oh, oh, um,
Yeah.
what? It's just like, welcome to breathing again, brother.
Yeah. I think so
Yeah,
many of us don't realize that we're not technically breathing, let's say, in a regular pattern of how we as humans should be. I think
yeah,
so many of us don't even realize now because of whatever we're going through or whatever the world is showing us, teaching us, making us become, we're we're not always authentically who we are.
yeah,
And even something as small as what you just said, breathing is coming back to ourselves.
yeah, and I don't even think the modern world lets us live right.
Hmm.
The abundance of technology, constant communication, bombarded left, right, and centre, constant opinions everywhere. The increase of knowledge to the point where everyone's an expert on everything because ChatGPT told them, and part of me thinks maybe we were just meant to get up when the sun rose and go to bed when it's set. You
Yeah.
know, and eat and drink with your family and never go much more than 20 miles from your home, and
Mm.
just love the simple things.
Yeah.
But now, since you're getting on the plane to America again tomorrow, I mean, it's like now go where you want, do what you want, learn everything,
Yeah.
let's watch Love Island, watching people implode their lives in front of everyone, and blah 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 blah, and
Yeah.
then boom, we wonder why we get all this explosion of autonomic conditions and
Mm.
difficulties. I mean, it's no surprise to me until I step back because I was part of the problem,
Yeah.
no doubt. It's like go, 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 just work myself into the ground, which I'm trying not to do now running a business. I'm I'm definitely trying not to. But yeah, yeah, I just think the modern world is set up to trip us over
Mm.
and damage us. I really believe it.
Mm.
Um, Like, it just seemed so much simpler when I was playing with my mates as a kid, and I drank water out of a hose pipe when I was thirsty.
Mm.
Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I know.
I'm probably romanticizing, but it just felt simpler.
No, and I just thought about when you said that about a time when I was in the mountains and I drank fresh water from the mountain in my hands, and um, that's like literally the simplest thing in life, drinking fresh water from a mountain.
Yeah,
And it's like it's the memory is making me feel amazing just thinking about it.
yeah. Do you know what? You just triggered a memory of me then, because I was cycling in Lanzarote, training for this alpine cycling, and there's this big climb called Tabayesco, which is a monster. I mean, it's a beast in the heat and very steep, very long hairpin bends. And I got to the top, and there was no shade. Like nothing. I had a little bit of water left in. I had two water bottles. One had energy drink. One just had water in. And then I saw this old like tree that had this slither of shade. And I just got off the bike, rolled over the bike, just got on this tree, leant back, pulled out my flask, and I poured a bit on my face. And then I had a little bit of a zip in in the cool of this shade in this rocky valley, and just thought, oh my God, this is
Mm.
good.
Yeah.
I don't need anything more than a tree and a bit of shade and some cool water. That's all I need.
Hmm.
The simplest of stuff. And then, you get back on the plane, go back. Where's my Xbox?
Yeah. Literally. Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. You get straight
But,
back into the modern world.
yeah. But I remember that moment thinking, wow, when you strip it all back, there's a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, isn't there?
Yeah.
The base one we all need, just food and shelter.
Hmm.
But we so add on stuff. I think the last one in that's good was it self-actualization, or when you realize when you live for something beyond yourself,
Mm.
then your life truly becomes beautiful. And so, but for me, I'd like to just do the first one and the last one. Give me some nice water, a simple meal, a bit of shade, and a purpose to live for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that sounds beautiful, to be honest with you. You don't really need
Yeah,
anything else.
no, but the world tells you, particularly Instagram, which I do like going through the reels. But then, it's luring me to buy a wetsuit and a ninja throwing star I don't need. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like madness. Why do I don't need a bow and arrow set?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Suddenly you're flicking through something and you're literally a second before you never knew it existed and you never needed it, and all of a sudden you really need
I really need that thing, that fidget toy. I really need it in my life.
it.
But yeah, but that's the problem because that's when the slippage comes and that's when dissatisfaction comes in.
Yeah.
And that's when the nervous system gets impacted. And that's what, it takes you back to this. Remember the safest place, nervous system. Remember when you were safe. And it just sort of brings you back. For me, prayer works. A morning of gratitude, even if it's 10, 15 minutes. A hug from a girlfriend,
Yeah.
a simple meal. These are the beautiful things that keep me centered. And then, I'm in a really beautiful position now where if ever life was bad, I can go on our community group on Facebook and just look at all the stories and think, wow,
Mm,
get their lives back. There's always the troll or the hateful person who thinks you're Satan, but that's
mm,
cool. I can do with one or two of them.
mm.
That's
Well,
normal.
yeah, and who knows? Maybe one day they won't be. So,
Exactly. Well, they think I am. One day maybe they won't think. I mean, I found that I can. We do get haters, we all do. But I found I can win a hater over by extraordinarily loving them.
mm.
They either get really annoyed back or they fold.
Or you just leave it. I had one
Yeah.
once told me, I remember on my social media, I lost control on an electric scooter and hit a bus. And when I posted that I then, on my X many year anniversary of the accident, climbed Mount Snowdon,
Dude.
some random person on the internet who to this day I've got no idea who they are wrote, I'm pretty sure electric scooters are illegal, so I'm glad you got your comeuppance.
Oh, oh my, just
Yeah,
mad.
yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's a great one.
Yeah, I
Wow.
know.
I'm tempted to get the worst ones and put them in frames.
Yeah, see, I remember that one so well. It was the I'm glad you got
Yeah.
your
Oh,
comeuppance. I was like,
how can
okay.
anyone think that? It's like mad. No, I've had to. I'm not going to say the worst I've had, but I've had some corkers.
Mm,
Yeah, there's some really good ones. I've had people, just say I'm a scammer and they hope I die and burn in hell, that sort of thing. I'm like, wow, you know, cheers.
yeah,
They're probably called Pete and live in Cheam and then go and have dinner with their two children, thinking
yeah.
that I feel better that I've just knocked someone down. But hey, you can't let them hit you. Though, I was tempted once to have the Knox file to I put all my bad letters. But generally speaking, I don't, if they've got malintent now, I don't even get to the end of them.
Mm,
I just like, I'll file that one locally. It's no
mm,
point. Some
mm.
people you can't dialogue with, can you?
No, no, but that's, I guess, the thing is everyone's got their own opinions in life, as we were saying before.
Yeah,
Everyone has
respect
their own
that.
perspective on things in life. And
Mm.
I think a huge part is also just if that's someone's perspective, then great, that's someone's
Yeah,
perspective.
some people's minds refuse to be changed, which actually I think another way of healing your nervous system is on that note, for me, has been never stop learning
Mm.
and don't stop unlearning.
Yeah.
I mean, because I could be a stubborn old goat,
Mhm.
but I think learning to unlearn has been a very powerful thing. And forgiveness, actually, letting stuff go. So I've had some pretty brutal things happen to me over the last 5 years, which I could fill a book with, like bad, on top of the condition. But forgiveness stops people living rent free in your head, I
Yeah.
find, which is another good thing for nervous system, reset. Because bitterness and hate, they can consume you and
Hmm.
make you ill. I'm sure a load of stomach related issues, back pain, shoulder pain, all that stuff. I'm sure a lot of it is bitterness and hate.
Yeah.
I'm convinced. Just like don't let them live in your head.
Mm.
Move on. You
Hmm.
know what's the point? I mean, I'm just unexcited now when people attack me. I'm like, oh, hey, that's good. I'm doing my thing. You do your thing.
Hmm.
I haven't got the bandwidth really.
Hmm.
Just love you. It's fine. Yeah.
But you made a really important point. It is unlearning. We actually have to unlearn things about ourselves in life because we've been
Oh yeah.
programmed into who we become. And some things, if we go into some sort of self-acceptance, self-understanding of ourselves, we do have to unlearn aspects of ourselves.
Yeah, and listen to that little voice. I do have this voice. It's not loud and it's not shouty, and I think it sounds like me, but I've got this little voice in my head that goes, "You're really being a bastard here." You
Really?
really, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It's great. It's normally 99.9% right, or why did you write that? Don't send that email. There's no point. I'm going, "No, but I want no." Don't send an email. Or you really should go down to your girlfriend and say you're sorry for being a dick.
Mm.
But yeah, really? You know you should? And then you really should. And then if I don't listen, it's going, I'm trying to talk to you. Go and apologize.
Mm.
Like, and it gets more and more like, I told you to apologize. And I know it's right. No, it's my inner conscience. And it's got, I mean, in one sense, it's quite annoying.
Mm.
But in another sense, it's really good.
Mhm.
Because sometimes it'll be, this way you've been in meetings for the last 10 years, you really need to change that.
But that's the thing, your inner conscience, you said
Yeah,
it can be really annoying, but it can actually show you directly what needs to be changed inside of you, or even what you need to heal, what you need
yeah,
to work on or
yes,
understand. And you can push it away as much as you want,
yeah,
but it will always come knocking.
yeah, and it's weird how it's always right. It's like
Yeah.
9 times like, how does that bit of my brain be so honest, truthful, good, and so damn insightful, but the outward makes it how come I ignored that for so long? But for me, again, listening to that voice, maybe it started with the beach band thing, like, in a really profound way. "Hey, where have you been most safe? Hey, hey, think."
Mm,
But I've been listening to that voice now solidly for 2, 3 years, and it's helped me unlearn a whole load of shits from the previous 52.
yeah. But that's what's and that's what's so interesting is when you unlearn things about yourself, it
Yeah.
it's also part of a healing process, unlearning things, because it's also unlearning, maybe it's unlearning the way you react to things that,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
this may have come from a trauma, or you're triggered by something or something that's hurt you. If you unlearn that behavior, when you unlearn things as well, I think it also opens up your heart more.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's huge. Like, I'm just thinking on the fly now what happened for the last hour, but I always run at confrontation, always used to. Confrontation, run at it, deal with it, and I think I don't mind a bit of argy-bargy, I just go and deal with it. Now this inner voice is like, "Why are you being such a jerk? Don't be so aggressive. What are you doing?"
Mm.
So in the end, I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, maybe there's a better way. Maybe I could just think for a day or two. Maybe I just," and then like a day or two later, you think, "Oh, what Steve said in the meeting was actually quite good. Oh, I'm glad I wasn't a dick and sent that terrible email." I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, everyone's forgotten what that was about." I was like, "What was I annoyed about? I can't remember." And then the inner voice is going, "Told you, told you."
But see, that's a fantastic example of not reacting
Yeah,
to however your body, if it's sad, anxious, suddenly really tight to whatever the situation has just happened. That is why a lot of the time, it's like take 10 seconds away, 10 minutes away. Don't send that text in
yeah,
that way you're feeling,
yeah,
because you will probably regret it.
yeah. Get yourself in the corner, give yourself a talking to, or listen to inner Carl. Inner Carl be
Yeah.
like, "What are you doing?"
And look,
Yeah,
if a day later you still want to send the text, okay, then you've gone
yeah.
through the whole day.
But I bet it would be less sharp and
Yeah.
more nuanced and calmer and maybe kinder.
And
You know,
reworded.
and yeah, definitely worded. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, much less, yeah, or maybe more words 'cause it's a bit softer and not so you are. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely been me. I don't run at things the way I used to. I still resolve stuff, but I'm sure there's dozens of things now that I was gonna run towards and deal with that I can't even remember what they were,
Mm,
and I'm still alright. Like, I've unlearned dealing with insults, overlook an insult. Don't worry if someone's got a wrong impression of you. You correct it in the end, and if not, that's okay.
yeah.
It's fine. What does it matter? It doesn't matter. You know.
Mhm.
I used to get wound up. What if my neighbour took 2 inches of my garden with their fence post? And I'm like, why do I even think about that?
Mm.
It's like it's nothing. I just nicked 2 inches off the neighbour the other side. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's very healing for us when you get to that point. Maybe it's age, I don't know. But maybe it's the journey. Maybe it's getting off the floor. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the thing that changes you. I hope so. Otherwise, it's a wasted experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And listening to it in a car.
Yeah, 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 or wherever your inner is. I mean, don't you all go and listen to Inner Car because he's a nightmare. Like it's
But
even
it
though it's like you stop talking, listen.
it is. It's listening to your inner self, and whether it's age, whether it's not age, you're right. It's sometimes being at that rock bottom, but finding a way to pick yourself up.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It makes life exciting, doesn't it? It's a
Mm.
rich tapestry,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess.
No, I completely agree with you. So then, before we wrap up, I want to ask, with someone that's going through a dark phase currently, what would you say to them?
Oh, so many things. And look, this is the first thing that came to mind when you asked that.
Mm.
It's such a cliche. It really is a cliche. But the darkest hour is always before the dawn,
Yeah.
and it is like the light will shine again. Like it will. Like, I was on the edge of taking my own life due to one of the meds I was on. I couldn't see any way out. I couldn't see any way back. I saw no future.
Mm.
And yeah, here I am. I've the love of my kids, a loving partner, a business that's changing lives. I live in a beautiful part of the country. I've got good friends who stood by me even though I couldn't see it at the time. Might even get another dog.
Mm.
But at the time, I couldn't see that. So just listen to people who have gone before you, like you and I, who would say to you, the light will shine again.
Mhm.
Like it will.
Mhm.
And there are people out there who love you more than you realise.
Yeah.
And you will find your true friends. And they
Yeah.
will love you more than you ever realised. And that's beautiful actually.
Yeah, that's a really important point as well to note is that sometimes you've got no idea how many people or who really truly deeply loves you.
Oh yeah. The people I thought did, turned out maybe they didn't. The people I didn't realise were there. Well, they've been there all along, they didn't know.
Yeah.
And they really love me. And yeah, that's special that and people will find that. You just sometimes all you can do is just kind of metaphorically lie there and say, "Here I am, help me."
Mm.
I can't do anything but stay in one place. There's nothing I can do, and just wait for the storm to pass because it
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. Yeah.
It will.
Every storm passes eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been
Oh,
amazing.
pleasure. I've enjoyed every minute. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here today. Life will knock us down, sometimes hard, and sometimes more than once. And when it feels impossible, know that your story isn't over yet. Sometimes when everything is falling apart, it's really falling into place. You have the power to rise, to heal, to make magic, and to evolve. And you have the power inside you. We all do. You have the power to get back up.